Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a really fun knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Civivi and Ostapel Hid, or HID. I don't know. I don't know how they want me to pronounce it. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. Obviously meant to be a sort of folding kitchen knife or folding camp food processing knife. It's huge! I had so much fun, honestly, breaking down cardboard boxes with this. It really is a slicing menace. There's a lot of good here. This is a really big knife. So it's one of those things where if you really want to EDC it, you're probably doing that to put a smile on your face, but it also does have a legitimate, added level of utility with that blade. It really is a performance-oriented blade. It's also not very expensive versus the stuff that I typically show on this channel. So I'll invite you to check it out with the link down in the description. It should be available. Thanks so much to Civivi for supplying it for review. Let's go ahead and get a measurement of this gigantic folding kitchen knife. It's so cool. I was really excited about this the first time I saw it as coming soon on Blade HQ. 9.75 inches. It's big, right? Blade length. I'm going to go 4.3 to 4.35. Cutting edge. Legitimately 4 1/4. How about some size comparisons? Any custom scales you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and Others. Look at it up against the AD10. The poor AD10. Well, the 8010 has a triad lock. It's still stronger. All right, don't cry your pants. Chill out. 8010 and the 8020.5, which is still gone. What happened? Even the little black one that I had is gone. You know what we're going to have to do? We're going to have to put it up against the Shaman because I have no idea where the 8020.5 is. Here it is. It's right here. It's big, right? How about we put it up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. Still big. Finally, let's put it up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue, and the Hogue Deca. It's still big. All right, how is the action? Well, the action's really great. Not just because it's a Civivi, but also because the blade is huge. There's an enormous amount of weight. In fact, it's a little bit scary. I'm going to be honest with you guys. It's a little bit scary disengaging that lock bar with one hand. I would recommend you use two hands because it's a lot of blade and it's a lot of really sharp blade coming down on your fingers. Access to the lock bar is good. It's a little bit sharp and a little bit angular. They do have some like steps down there, I guess. The lock bar tension is also pretty heavy. So it takes not an incredible amount of force, but more force than you might be used to disengage it. While you can tuck your thumb up here and get it to engage with the back portion of the knife, I'm not going to lie, this corner does come down and it's a lot of blade, right? So you could poke yourself even in the fingernail pretty good if you disengage with one hand. And there's a decent chance you could do some damage to your thumbnail. So I don't love the one-hand disengagement. It's a little bit terrifying, but it's totally doable and you can adapt. But this blade is a lot sharper just given the geometry. It's just very, very sharp, and there's a lot of blade coming down really fast, right? So what we typically do with folding knives, you kind of put yourself in a little more of a risky situation. So just be cognizant of it. Accessing the thumb stud, easy. It's a little wider than we typically expect it to be, kind of right up against the frame, but totally satisfying, right? You can't front flip it. At least I can't. You can knock yourself out. Reverse flicking it, also totally doable and super satisfying. Great detent for this size of knife, especially with it utilizing a thumb stud. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3. Not very thick, slightly thicker. How about length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3? I don't care who you are, you're going to notice this thing. This is a tall knife. It's a long knife, right? Unless you're like, a cold steel, whatever warrior where you just like stand around with gigantic knives in your pocket so that you can, You're just like chomping at the bit for the next person who might be interested in what you're carrying to walk by so you can tell them that you EDC a giant cold steel knife. Okay, you guys probably won't have a problem with this. And then you can tell everybody who asks that you don't have a problem with it because you're used to huge knives. For everybody else, this is a lot to adapt to, right? So it was fun to carry, and it's not a super heavy knife, but I definitely noticed the size of it. Like I was always like, I'm carrying a huge folding kitchen knife. Like that was in my head all the time, right? I was just very aware of it. Materials, what are we looking at here? 14C28N, which we can probably see if we zoom up. There we go. 14C28N. We have G10, and then we have a steel liner that's nested into one side, but the other side, to my knowledge, is solid G10. Yeah, that's the case there. So that was probably for weight reduction because adding another steel liner to the other side would have added a substantial amount of weight considering how big this thing is. So 5.2 ounces, honestly, not bad. I'm not upset with that. I never felt like this was too heavy, right? It's big and it will be too heavy for some people, but for me, I never felt like it was too heavy. It just felt huge, right? Which it is. Let's do a hardware check. I'm going to get out my tools as per usual. My tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel or the pinned comment, which is in every single video. The pivot is definitely a T8. The screw that holds the back end together and the pocket clip is also a T8. This is beautifully simple to take apart. I mean, ridiculously simple. It's literally just 4 total screws, right? 4 total heads, and they're all T8. As long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. It runs on bearings. I don't know if that's obvious, but it does run on bearings. So you have the blade, you got the bearings, you got the 2 scales, you got the 4 screws, the pocket clip, and the nested liner on the other side. That is the totality of the knife. Measure the blade stock thickness, metal complex. I will, but I need a moment to find that godforsaken set of calipers, which is never in the right place. There we go. So I'm going to guess this is like 125 at the thickest. It cannot be hyper thick. No, it's even less than that, 114 thousandths. All right, meat and potatoes time. This is a monster cutter. And like I said, just breaking down cardboard boxes with this was so much fun. It didn't really matter how thick the cardboard was. I mean, it just went right through it. And while the edge has seen a little bit of work, not a lot. It just is, it's crazy. This is an insane slicer. Absolutely insane slicing machine. The geometry of the edge there, right? Even if you're cutting dense materials that create, excess friction, your rubber, your styrofoam, right? Your thick cardboard, whatever, right? Wood. It's gonna cut through that stuff. This isn't a strong blade. It's not something that you should be abusing, though you probably shouldn't be abusing any knife. If you're going to, use a fixed blade, a really thick one. This isn't that knife. I would venture to guess that this would be decent for, food prep, like on the fly. The one thing that I cut, the one bit of food that I cut was part of a pepper while I was out by my grill. And it did that just fine. It did exactly what I expected. I'm not a food prepping person. I don't spend enough time with kitchen cutlery to properly tell you whether or not this is as good. I doubt it. I think probably professional kitchen cutlery will still be better. But this will lay down with the back of the blade actually contacting the surface, right? Which means you can do some light food prep with it. If you have a little cutting board and you're in a, probably outside and not with a full kitchen, this will work. It will do what you want it to do with food. I can say that as somebody who doesn't have enough experience to be able to tell you definitively if this is as good as regular kitchen cutlery. I'm just telling you, just using deductive reasoning and cutting a simple pepper with it, yeah, it'll do it, right? So as like kind of a camp kitchen folder, sure. That's great. The thin edge geometry will work in your favor. And the fact that it is 14C28N means that it won't win any awards for edge retention, but that geometry will allow that blade to continue doing its job for a very long time versus your typical 14C28N blade. It will also be beautifully simple to touch back up. I mean, it's the amount of edge holding you will get just for the geometry versus how little time it will take to probably strop this back to life means that any negative feeling you get from carrying such a large object will likely be largely made up for in terms of the smile it puts on your face when you go to cut something with your easily newly sharpened edge. I love the blade profile. It really does just look like a tactical kitchen knife. I love the fuller here. I like that they did texturing up here, but not down here. That means the pocket clip gets to ride over a smooth part of the handle while you still get a pretty good grip on that pretty aggressive texturing up here. You can also choke up on it, right? Is this better than a typical, just like outdoor folder for like outdoor use? Probably not. I don't know. I mean, it'll do everything a regular pocket knife will do. It's just got a really tall, wide blade. I can't say specifically that this will make any part of the average person's day-to-day easier than your average folder. It will certainly make it more fun. And you will also feel the difference when you're slicing stuff. That was the biggest thing that I noticed was, wow, anything I cut with this, right? I said processing wood. This isn't the knife to process wood. But if you're trying to like slice through something, right? Specifically like your cardboard, your rubber, your styrofoam, materials like that, slicing through a big, thick thing, man, this just laser beam. It's wild. And it was so fun. It's one of those things that makes you go, wow, geometry really is important, right? This will do things like that better. But you're going to have to carry around this gigantic thing. Which makes me feel like, as much as I love these big, large, crazy knives, I think a smaller one would be a really good idea. I think just scaling this back to like an 8-inch knife would be a really good idea, and offering this in a mini form, right? It does look cool, and we definitely don't have a lot of knives out there like this. I love that they have different jimping zones as well. The jimping's okay. It's not the grippiest. This one way out here, man. Yeah, I guess if you're trying to like do some draw cuts, maybe, right? But it's nice that they're there. Satin finish on the blade. They have brown G10. They have black. I think they had a wood one, right? I'm sure that this will be popular. I'm sure that they'll come out with different versions of it. That's pretty much it, for the blade and the scales and everything. It is definitely comfortable. Pocket clip is short relative to the length of the handle, so whether you want to rock back on it, there's legitimately 1, 2, 3 different full grip positions for me. So even if your hands are absolutely massive, you will find a reasonably comfortable position to hold this knife in. Edges are chamfered enough that it's comfortable. It's not like, oh my God, hand melting amazing, but it is comfortable, definitely. This has a wire clip, which is fine. I did have to fight this straight bill a little bit, but I'm used to it, right? No big deal. No different than the clip, any other clip that I would expect to see on a knife like this. You can mount it for left or right-handed carry. So lefties, you'll be dealing with a right-handed liner lock, but I think it's actually safer to manipulate with the left hand. I think about it. You have a stop pin that's located in its traditional spot. Oh, huge stop pin back here. Actually, there is a little bit of shouldering, so that's nice. Big old stop pin. Runs on bearings, no blade play, up, down, left, or right, no lock stick, no pivot lash, very smooth, alarmingly smooth, down in the closed position. And we have also, can we see it? Yeah, perfect centering with no detent lash. Huge folding kitchen knife. This will not be for everybody. If you find this appealing, you will love this. You will love cutting with it. It's awesome. It's like carrying around a kit. A kitchen knife has better geometry for processing certain materials than a regular folding knife, right? Folding knives are designed to do a multitude of different things. Like your average EDC folding knife is designed with a geometry that's going to make a lot of different things reasonably easy to accomplish. This is going to slice big, long, thick pieces of material or food or whatever, right, for a long period of time. And it's a lot of fun. It's worth it if you're just like, I just want to know what it's like to break down cardboard boxes, like piles and piles of cardboard boxes really, really easily. This will do it. A lot of fun. You need to keep your cuts out here rather than back here. If you want to use this for food prep, obviously the benefit would be when you need to carry a knife, but carrying a kitchen knife around just isn't the best option, right? So outdoor stuff like that where you're doing a lot of food prep, I think this will work just fine. The price is $84. That is exactly what I expected it to be. Usually prices are either a little higher or a little lower what I expected it to be. In my mind, I thought, I bet this will be an $85 knife, and it is. I think that's fair. It's not quite a budget knife. It's still recommendable, though. Not for everybody, but, I mean, this is cool enough that I can say, if you pick this up, it'll put a smile on your face. It's one of those knives that I think is awesome. So I am going to put this in my recommended knives playlist because I love it. I think this is great. It's what I wanted it to be and then some. That's it. Links in the description. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex and on TikTok at _metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.